Dear believer, have you ever had times where you felt that the world was against you? Did you come close to understanding what Jesus meant when he told his disciples in John chapter 16 verses 33, in this world you would have tribulations? Then there is hope for you. Remember, in the next statement he says, be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. The Bible gives us comfort for every such time when we feel like all doors are closed and there seems to be no way out. We can trust that God's word has wisdom for every aspect of our lives and to help us come out victorious. An example of this happened to 3 friends in the Bible. We can get encouragement from this. Yes, I'm talking about the story of the 3 Hebrew boys, that's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and definitely the 4th man in the fire. This full story is found in Daniel chapter 3 verses 14 to 28. Prior to this story in question, we see how the 3 Hebrews alongside their friend Daniel had refused to defile themselves with the king's meal. This meal was obviously served to idols. Now this is just like some of us, dear believer, who have chosen to live the right kind of life in spite of the odds or how different it looks. We've chosen to give our lives to doing the will of God, and it is expected that bad things shouldn't happen to good guys. But is that truly so? What if bad things indeed happen? How should the Christian react? Does he even have a say here? The 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were friends in a strange land of Babylon but chose to uphold the dignity of their Lord their God. We must know that it is easy at this point for them to give up. After all, they were in another land. Who would see them? They were just mere slaves. Again, we have a moral here. Is our commitment restricted to when things are okay? What would we do if we found ourselves in a situation where no one who is really of our faith are around us to inspire us? What do we do? Who do we turn to? Let us continue this story that tells us a lot about how to handle situations when they arise. They resolved not to bow to the graven image of the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. They must have read the Torah well in Exodus chapter 20, how they are not to worship any other god. They must have read the Torah well in Exodus chapter 20, how they are not to worship any other god but the true God. This decision had consequences for them as it does for every child of God who has chosen at one point or the other to stand for God. You keep wondering, will that situation ever change? Is God listening in the midst of all these? It is at this point that we must stop and ask ourselves, what exactly is our reaction when we come face to face with oppositions? That opposition may be a lack of finances or even ill health. It may be a broken home. It may be something that just makes us think twice about the safety that God has promised. The question is, what would this consequence be? The 3 Hebrews must have been mocked by others even when they made their decisions. They must have been laughed at. They must have been called foolish by older folks and obviously too know by their age mates. But the good thing is that they didn't listen. The child of God must learn to know that in times of trouble and tribulations, the situation seems like there will be no turnaround. It is then that he should hold on more, because there will be friends who come around, or better still, call them enemies, who come around just to tell you how miserable you are and how you should turn your steps and go the way of this world. Just like Job's wife had told him to curse God, the believer must know that there are trying times. Different people will show up with different ideas and opinions, but he must choose wisely who he listens to. This is what the 3 Hebrew boys did. They didn't listen to the naysayers. They stood by their word. What was going to be their consequence for daring to be different? For defying the king's order? They had to be burnt to ashes. They had to be thrown into a burning fiery furnace. And that's the end for them, right? Just like it would look like it. Just like it would look like it would be the end for you in that situation. You may have even decided that the end is where you are right now, that you will never come out of that problem. I come to tell you otherwise. God's word comes to tell you otherwise. What happened to the 3 Hebrew friends? Would their stance for what is right yield them punishment? Just for choosing to honor God? Well, it would seem so. But these ones didn't budge. So alas, they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. But before that note, they told the king that they would not bow down. Whether they were thrown into the fire or not should not matter to them. They simply would not bow down. That is some confidence that we surely need at one point or the other. We need to have that never say die attitude in times where we feel like the doors are about to shut on us. We need to know that we can have the final say, that we can defeat the devil and we can come out victorious. Yes. Oh yes, we can. We can defeat the devil and we can come out victorious. Yes, we can. If our Jesus did it, then we surely can. We can look back and we can say that we stayed through it. We did it. So back to our story. It would appear that this is their end. It would appear that the only thing that was left of them would be ashes. They would become history, consumed by the situation, but not quite yet. The one they stood for does not sleep or slumber. He saw all that transpired, and it was time for action to begin. Nebuchadnezzar noticed someone else in the furnace, the one who was called the fourth man in the fire. The one whom they defended came to defend them, the Son of God. How Jesus just knows how and when to show up at such times when it seems like all hope is lost. Oh, how he likes to rewrite the story of a man or woman who has been written off by the world, who has been written off by enemies and even by friends. So Nebuchadnezzar saw the Son of God. They became four, and the fire, not even smoke, could do them any harm. They were shielded, they were protected by him, the one who sees the end from the beginning, and you can guess already, they weren't hurt, and it definitely ended in victory. Dear believer, be encouraged that no matter how bad the situation is right now, the fourth man in the fire is set to show up, and he will. You will come out unscathed, just like these men did. This is not a fiction if you believe the Bible. This is not a fiction. If you believe the Bible, then you must believe that this happened indeed. The fourth man in the fire showed up. He couldn't leave those three alone. And this is still his character today. He will not leave you on your own. He sees and knows everything. So be of good cheer. Child of God, trust the fourth man in the fire. No matter what you're going through, don't look back. It will surely end in victory. The very interesting part that you may care to know is that those who increased the fire of the furnace were killed by the intensity of the flame, whereas those who were put in the flame were preserved. This is what God alone can do. The fourth man in the fire. This means that for everyone who was clamoring for your downfall, you can be assured that you will see the end of them and not the other way around. And the icing on the cake? King Nebuchadnezzar declared that the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is who should be served throughout the land. Amazing, right? When the fourth man in the fire showed up, the story changed, and wonderfully so. And this is how it will be for you. You will not languish in that situation. It will not end you at all. You just need to keep at it. You just need to keep trusting. You just need to keep believing. You have an example in the Bible already that you can overcome. And just like the three Hebrew boys did, there is never a good time enough. There is never a time good enough to give up. Never. That turnaround that you want to see is right there. So just don't look back. This is a call to you, dear believer. Don't give up. You know that the name of the Lord will be glorified through you, and it will. So keep on keeping on, because the end is not yet. God bless you.